All right. Hello, everyone out there in SegMetrics land. It's Ian here, and today we have a really exciting webinar for you. We're joined by Phil Herrington of the Payment Experts. How's it going, Phil?
Doing good. How are
Awesome.
you?
Yeah, doing great over here. By the way, where are you located, Phil?
Boise, Idaho.
Awesome over there. So we're over here on the West Coast. I'm over here in Fresno, California, but our listeners and viewers are probably scattered all throughout the world. So if anybody wants to put that in the chat, let us know where you're from. But yeah, not to take up too much time, but I wanted to introduce Phil. Phil's going to be giving a presentation for us today. So like I mentioned, this is Phil Herrington. He is the VP of the Payment Experts. So he has a deep understanding of the challenges of payment processing and how to reduce taxes and the laws surrounding e-commerce. So I know we have a ton of e-commerce folks on our platform that I feel like this information is going to be very valuable for. So I don't want to take up too much time, Phil, and I want you to make sure that we get your full presentation in here. So I'm going to stop my share, and I'm going to let you share, and then let you take it away. So we got Vanessa from Mansfield, Ohio as well. So cool. Not too far from you, I don't think. Awesome. Well, let me stop my share.
Okay, well, cool. Then I'll take it away. Thank you, Ian. Again, Phil Herrington. I thought I was going to have a background, but you guys get to see in the background here, one of my favorite things to do is RC cars and fix those up and run them. And pretty much we say break them because as soon as you run an RC car, you're going to break it. So we have to have our workbench back there. So so I'm super excited to be here. Met these guys over at TNC, Traffic Conversion. I'm sure a lot of you guys were there, and we just love it. So that was a really, really good event for us. So I'll just jump right in the presentation, and then I have time at the end I've saved for questions because I'm sure this will bring up a lot of questions. And so I will start that now.
And while you're pulling that up, Phil, just tell everybody, I was going to tell everybody, if you have any questions while Phil's doing his presentation, feel free to throw them in the chat. We'll be moderating, and then we'll save some time at the end to answer all your questions about that.
Okay, if you see a question, then just yell at me because I can't see the chat unless you need to. Okay, all right, good. Can you see my screen?
I can, yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so here at the Payment Experts, we like to give businesses a reason to smile. We're going to show you how we can make you smile about your payment processing again. In the company, we have David. He's our president. Myself, I'm the vice president. And Misty Mendenhall is the CEO of the company. The agenda today, we'll talk about a couple things. We're going to do the introductions, which I'll kind of do about who we are and how we got started and all that stuff in this space. The new way of payment processing, we call it service fee processing, how it works, the legalities of everything, and then equipment, software, and next steps. Cool. All right, so background. So where we got started. So Misty Mendenhall, first off, she's our CEO. She's been in this payment space for 30 years. Wow. She comes from American Express about 30 years ago. She was part of the department in American Express that was telling merchants to stop taking checks and take credit cards instead so you would make more money, right? So the idea back then, and it was for about maybe 20 years, was take credit cards because business or people will spend 30% more on a credit card than they will writing a check. And so that was true. So of course it made sense. Give up 4% to gain 30%. So they went on the, kind of the rampage of telling everybody, all merchants, take credit cards, people will spend more with you. And that was true until today. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later. After she left American Express there in Arizona, she came up here to Boise, Idaho, and she became a banker, but she was a personal banker, but she still stayed in that merchant space. So she was the person you would go to at your bank if you wanted to get a merchant account. So she took care of that for a number of banks here in the area. And eventually she got tired, just like we all do as entrepreneurs. And she had that, the guy that wrote the E-Myth, he says you had that entrepreneurial seizure and you said, you know what? I'm tired of working for somebody else. So now she said, I'm going to go out and build my own business. I know the banking space. I know merchant services. I know I can do a good job. So she launched out into the world of doing it herself. She's with a few processors, and then she met David, and they decided at the last processor they were with, and they decided to form a company together in 2017 called the Payment Experts. Now, my story is a little bit unique. I was in the payment space for 12 years in Wichita, Kansas, and I did it the hardest way you could possibly do. And I didn't know it at the time. I knew nothing about networking. I knew nothing about these types of things that we're doing here where you get in front of people. I was just cold calling, door to door, day to day, walking down Main Street of America and signing people up for merchant services. I took a hiatus for a little bit, went off and did some other things. I joined them again about 7 months ago. And because when I took that hiatus and I wasn't in the payment space, I did a lot of networking here in the Boise area. And over the last, I would say 4 or 5 years, I've done like 1,500 one-to-ones, and I became known as Phil the Connector. I would kind of speed up your networking, if you will, because I already met with that person. You should meet with them, that type of thing. And then Misty brought me on board here. And because of all the connections that I did have, we signed up like 20 accounts, or I signed up like 20 accounts in the first 4 months. So they offered me a partnership with the Payment Experts. So now I'm part owner of the Payment Experts, which I'm very, very excited about. I've been in sales for like 36 years, and I've never had this really stable place where now I'm a partner and I can build something. So I have a real vested interest in not only building the company, but taking care of the customer. And how we really differ we're trying to kind of change that space in the credit card processing. You get calls all the time, you get emails, you get whatever, however they're communicating with you and saying, switch your merchant services, right? And you get hammered with that all the time. We're trying to change that space, that we're good humans doing business with good humans, and we're the guys that are going to answer our phone. So if you have a problem, we're going to answer that phone and take care of the problem. So we're going to share something new with you today, and I'm going to introduce that service fee processing. So let's jump right into it, and I'll kind of show you how it works. So service fee processing, here's how it works. So the rules are, so I'm going to take a step back real quick of when it started. So in 2009, you go to like the DMV, or you go to gas stations in some states. Maybe it is that way in California, Ian, I'm not sure, but you pay a different price for credit or debit. Totally. Credit or cash. And then when you go to the DMV, they say, yeah, we're going to pass that fee on to you, or add extra 3.5% or whatever to your total if you use a credit card. So they've been doing that for years. And in 2009, a bunch of processors got together and said, hey, that's unfair. And actually, you know what? It's unconstitutional for someone to, the government to be able to do it and these other entities to do it, and not the private sector. So they actually took Visa, MasterCard, we call them the card brands, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover. They took them to court, and they took 2 years to take it all the way to the Supreme Court. And it was ruled in 2011 that it was unconstitutional. But they did say one thing, hey, Visa, MasterCard, please go back and make some rules around this, because we don't want merchants going, okay, well, I'm just going to charge everybody 10% for using a credit card. So there had to be some rules around it. So about 2013, this thing really launched, because they had to get the software together and all that type of stuff, and they get the terminals, basically get it flipped around to where the merchant was no longer paying the fee, but the customer was. So here's how it works. You have to tell the customer that you're applying a fee either at your store level, if you're a store, like so on your door and your point of sale, or on your website or your invoices, as long as it's communicated to the customer because you're using a plastic card, a service fee is involved. Now, you're going to hear this in the industry, convenience fee, surcharge. We're just going to add 3% to the top of the invoice. those types of things, that's all the incorrect way to do it. It has to be a separate line item on the receipt or the invoice, which is what our software does for you, or companies that are doing it correctly. And it has to, and the reason we chose service fee is because service fee can be written off on your taxes. So not only does the merchant not pay, but also the people that are doing business with you, if they itemize their taxes, they can also write those service fees off. So it was a great way to make sure that no one's paying the fee. So you apply it to every sale, and when they give you cash or check, or let me make sure I'm following here. So go to apply. So we can do everything now. Now that we fast forward, we can do terminals, online, checkouts, POS systems. So you name it and see it out there, then we can do it. And what we decided to do as the payment experts is to become like a broker in the payment space. So all the processors and terminals and all that stuff that we offer are our vendors, and we care about the customer that we're dealing with. So let's figure out how you want to process. How do we smooth this out for you? And then we'll go find a product for you, right? So if you're in a retail environment and you're receiving cash, gift cards, or check, then the fee doesn't apply. Our terminals and all that stuff will remove that for you. And then again, as I already mentioned before, on the receipt, it has to display the service fee on a separate line item. And then the monthly fees, each service fee collected towards the monthly processing. Okay, so you actually just have a small fee to have an account open, or anybody that does this type of processing. And I'll get into that on the next slide. But here's the actual Durbin Amendment. So again, see 2009 that was put into place. So if you actually want to know the law, that's the law that you can look up. And first off, the Durbin Amendment came along and said you can charge a surcharge to credit cards, but not debit cards. And that's why we don't use the terminology surcharge, because it would not allow us to charge the fee to every single plastic card. So we've adopted service fee processing and branding that so that it can be applied to every single plastic card. And that's all 4 credit cards: Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover. So equipment for that. So we have the Builtin Technology on whatever level you're at. So again, if you're even if you're just invoicing your customers, we can help you get that set up. It's detailed out for the customer. And so this is a transparent program, right? So we're saying this is exactly what's happening. And the way we explain it to merchants that take this on, because every merchant that meets with us, I'll just give you an example. A guy I met with yesterday has a heating and air company, and he said, "Oh yeah, I would like to not pay that $40,000 a month." He's processing about $100,000 a month in Visa and MasterCard, right? So that's $40,000 a year, right? And so what does $40,000 a year mean to a business, right? That's a piece of equipment. That could be an employee, right? So he's like, of course I don't want to pay the fee, but how do I implement this and not frustrate my customers or not anything like that? So we just explained to him, it's just like if you were going to increase your prices, which you've done in the lifetime of your business. You never go ask your customer if you can do that. You just say, as of this date, the price has gone up $5 or 10% on everything or whatever, right? And so we implement this the same way. We say, as of this date, we've adopted the service fee program, and we're being very transparent on this is a fee that's always been there, that's charged by Visa and MasterCard, American Express, Discover, the card brands, and this is what that fee is. So again, as long as we're transparent, we're good to go. And then it meets, because again, I'll say we did the service fee program because it meets all the regulations, federal and state, and it can be provided in all 50 states. So perfect. Oh, so I actually have a video testimonial from one of our customers, so I'll play that real quick. It's only a couple minutes here, and we'll jump right back in.
Oh, Phil, I'm not able to. the sound went out on that video. Hey, Phil, is there any way to up the volume on that video? I don't not.
Oh, yes. Let me see. Oh, I see. You're not being able
Right,
to hear it.
exactly.
Oh,
Yeah, we can see it. But...
Gotcha. Bummer. It does not look like that. I didn't think about that. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
No, it looks like it's at its max volume. Okay. You know, it's cool. What he basically said in there is that. Oh,
and I was gonna say, if you want to drop the link
so
to the YouTube video in the chat, or send it over to me, and I can throw it in the chat as well. So.
Oh, there we go. That's a good idea. Let's do that. There, you guys can watch that whenever you like. I'll throw that in there. Great. All right. Yes. Perfect. So, all right, there's that part. and then we go into costs. So here's what we really like about what I love about the program is that the 12 years I was in before, all I was ever doing is fighting price. So I was going into a merchant, and you guys have all experienced this, where I go, hey, give me the last 3 months of your merchant statements, and I'll guarantee I'm going to cut that rate for you. And we always could, because we're all buy from the same place, Visa interchange. So we could always cut it a little bit. But what we find is that maybe it saves the merchant $100, or maybe it saves them $50 a month, right? And they're going to go through all this hassle to make a switch. Anytime there's a change, there's a hassle, right? So we're going to go through all this hassle to make a change to save $600 a year. And then, we got to buy new equipment. Okay. So now all of our money's gone, right? So what I love about this is, like, the guy this morning, for example, that we got signed up. He was spending $15,000 a year in credit card processing. So with our fee of $49 a month, $600 a year, now we're looking at some significant savings to decide to move your business, right? Okay, I'm gonna net myself $14,400. Yeah, okay, now it's worth looking at, right? Because again, that's that part-time employee or a new piece of equipment or something. So that's the easiest way to look at what would I save, right? It's so easy. What did I pay in fees last month or last year? And was it less than $600 a year or $50 in the month, right? So, or $50 a month. So the only other fee there is American Express. If you're doing a lot of American Express, every $1,000 of American Express has a 0.25%. So it's $2.50 per American Express, or per $1,000 on American Express only. Everything else is wrapped up in the $49.99. So when the card is paid, the program is 3.95%. So how we came up with that rate is one of the rules that came out of the lawsuit was it can't be more than 4%. And how they came up with that number is they did the average of credit card processing across the nation, and it came up to be about 4%. So we chose to go with 3.95%, be a little bit under that. No transaction fees, just 3.95%. So if your product or service is, say, $100, it would say $100. There'd be a separate line item that says service fee, $3.95, and then the customer would pay $103.95 in one transaction. And then we take that $3.95 and pull it into our bank account. We pay Visa and MasterCard and keep the change. And that's how we make our money. And then you get 100% of your invoice in your bank account the next banking day.
Wow.
So there's usually a setup fee of some sort that varies depending on complication of the account, or sometimes they're really big or what have you. And then we always look at we have lots of options for virtual terminals or actual terminals or whatever we need, again, to try to figure out a solution for you guys. Our goal, of course, is to put as much money back in your pocket as possible. Now, The other thing you're going to find too is this could literally be the last time you change. So if you've been in business for a while, and I run across business owners all the time that are 20, 30 years into their business, and they know every 2 to 3 years they need to go ahead and go look at their credit card processing and let somebody give them an analysis, because twice a year Visa interchange looks at their rates and most of the time raises one of the categories. Now, there is like 80 to 100 different categories. So sometimes that affects your type of business, sometimes it doesn't. But the fact is if you set up a traditional merchant account over the course of say 10 years, 5 or 10 years, that rate is not going to be the same that you initially signed up for. It's just going to keep increasing. Right. So one of the biggest things out there right now, so that credit card processors can be like, it wasn't our fault type deal, is they do cost plus pricing. So they say, we're going to give you interchange. So we can't do anything about interchange. That's what Visa and MasterCard make the changes on. And then we're only going to add 0.5% or 100%. We're going to add 100 basis points, which is 1%. So then they can always say is, well, we just charged you 1%. That's all we did. Visa and MasterCard, that was their saying, but that comes out to still about 4% for you guys. So however they slice it and dice it, you still end up at that 3.5 to 4%.
Right.
So what we decided to do, again, just switch that around and let the customer pay. Now, the only concern that we hear people say is, what is this going to mean to my customer? How are they going to respond to this? They did a 2-year study of 42,000 merchants that were on this program in all different segments or industries. And they found that 99.2% of people didn't notice or even care that there was a service fee. They understood that there was a cost to doing that there was a cost associated with the card that they're using, because that's where all their frequent flyer miles and cash back rewards and all that stuff will come from. It comes from the merchant's pocket. Sure. So anyways, so explaining that, people were like, oh, totally. And in this climate right now with, whatever's going on with stuff, we're in flux. This is a great time to adopt a program like this, because people are very understanding about it, even more so. And then when this all goes away and we go back to a booming economy or whatever, then you now have this in place and you're still not paying the merchant service fees. So we have a 99% retention rate. And the reason is because once a merchant has made the decision to not pay the merchant service fees anymore, there's no reason for them to ever switch unless they got bad customer service. So that's why we're saying it's the last move you have to make. So I'd like to open it up at this point for some questions, because I've thrown a lot of information at you and I can tend to talk a little fast. So if I missed anything or you have any questions at all, please throw those out there. I want to field those questions for you.
Cool. Well, great presentation, Phil. Thank you for that. And while we're waiting for people to maybe throw some questions in there, a couple came up in my mind while you were giving your presentation. Yep. So I guess, with the majority of our customers being online businesses, right? And they take all their transactions online through something like maybe Shopify or PayPal or Stripe, right? So how does that translate to the payment experts, and how, since you said you're online now, right? It's not just for brick and mortar. How would that integrate to something like a Shopify or a PayPal or a Stripe platform, someone taking payments through that?
Oh, so great question. I'm going to break that into 2 answers. The first answer is going to be, you mentioned PayPal. So I'm going to take PayPal, Square, and Stripe, and a couple other smaller ones out there, and let you know that those are what we call aggregators. So what they basically do is they have a large one merchant account with Visa and MasterCard, and they are giving you a branch of their processing. That's why there's not a lot of business information you need to give them to open up a Square, a Stripe, or a PayPal account. Okay, so there's one challenge with that. You have no control over your account. Right. So if there's a chargeback, these companies will just immediately side with Visa and MasterCard. So there's yanking that money out of your account. Okay, so you always want to have your own merchant account. So we only set up accounts that are registered with Visa and MasterCard. So it's your own merchant account. So if a chargeback situation was to happen, you actually have 14 days to reply to that and try to win the case, if you will. But a lot of those aggregators won't give you the information to do that. We will. We'll go on your behalf and try to fight it for you.
Gotcha.
To answer your other question, if we don't have a direct integration with the Shopify's, and what Shopify we do, but if we don't have a direct integration, then we have plenty of partners, such as just met one at TNC called Checkout Champs. They're a fantastic deal, but we could integrate with them. So we might make some changes on the website, but the end result will be you won't be paying the processing fee. So that's our job, is to go figure that out.
Yeah, that's interesting how now we're flipping the script, right? So now the business owner isn't footing the bill for those transaction fees. And like you mentioned through your study, it's nobody really has much pushback, right? So if I spend $100,
Exactly.
$3.95 for that processing fee, and since you line itemed it out, you're being transparent, right? So I think that's awesome, right? So now, like you said, now that extra $40,000 a year goes to a piece of equipment, or maybe to an employee they need, or whatever that might be, and that puts the money back into the business owner's pocket with very minimal pushback from the customer saying, "Hey, why are you charging me?" And I think it's something that people are used to nowadays in this type of society, right? It's like, well, if I go buy a ticket for a concert, there's going to be that automatic surcharge, right? Where you mentioned.
Right.
Get away with the service fee versus the surcharge, the verbiage, right?
Yeah.
It gets kind of into the legalese of all that stuff, right? But
right.
Yeah. So I think it's awesome that now you're putting the power back into the business owner's hands, and like you said, it's with very minimal pushback, and the fact that if somebody does a chargeback or has a dispute, right, you'll go to bat for your customer.
Right.
And we
so we're all about making sure that our customers don't have to do. We're the one-stop shop, right? So just like if you had your insurance agent, your P&C guy, the reason people go with, instead of going with a Geico, they go with that State Farm rep or whatever, is so they can call them and say, "Hey, I just got in a car wreck." You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Or whatever, right?
Totally.
And so that's what we're like. Hey, my money's not transferring. Hey.
Gotcha.
Whatever's happening, we're there, right?
Sure.
So
yeah, and some of these, okay. So we do actually have a question. Let's see, from Steven.
Okay.
So he says, "Thanks for the presentation. Can you handle online payments when you have global customers? We're a Delaware registered C Corp, but sell online to 180 plus countries. So how does that work?"
That's a fantastic question. The fact that you are a registered business in the U.S. with a U.S. bank, the answer is yes. It doesn't matter where you're selling, who you're selling to. It's about the registration in the U.S. So, because I was dealing with a company that they're in Japan and they're a bank in Japan, so we're working on trying to get them a solution. So I learned from that situation that as long as you're a business in the U.S. registered in the U.S. with a U.S. bank, then you're good to go. It doesn't matter where you're selling your product to.
Awesome. Cool.
So great question. And then that brings me to that kind of the last part there. There's my calendar link. If anybody wants to learn more or go into a deeper discussion with that, I'd be happy to help out. We are very, very big, Ian, on no hard sale. We are informational, and our belief is this: the penetration of this market right now is about 25% of the U.S. businesses in the United States are using a program like this. We see in the next 3 to 5 years, our numbers are telling us we'll be at 60 or 70%. So we want to give the information out. If you're ready to go now, great, let's go. If not, then you'll go later. We just say, hey, you want to save thousands now, or do you want to waste thousands and go later? Either way, it's fine with us. but again, there's so many people to talk to and that are so excited about a program like this that there's no need for us we can just be informational.
Right. Totally.
Right? And so
I think that's why we align so well.
So don't fear if you get on my calendar that I'm going to be like, okay, now you need to sign right now. I can't force you to
fill out this credit card
So
form.
go ahead.
Cool. Yeah. And one other thing that really caught my ear when you were giving your presentation was you mentioned the ability to write off these fees now, right? Because they're now a line item. So can you just kind of dive a little bit more into that and how a business can write off those fees?
Yeah, thank you. So if you're a B2B business, they're going to write off the entire transaction anyway. So it really is a moot point because no reason to really bring it up. You can say it, but the B2C, if they keep their receipt and because it has a separate line item and says service fee, they can turn those into their accountant or their CPA and they can write those off on their taxes. So if they're just diligent about maybe just taking a picture of that, and there's plenty of apps that'll gather that for you throughout the year, take that picture, then you're good to go. So it's always been there. It's just kind of an unknown thing that if it's a service fee, you can write it off.
Yeah. And I had no idea. That is the cool thing about that, right, is that now we're putting more money back into that business's pocket, and we have all of our, I think 98% of our customers are B2C. So I think that's something that would be a very valuable thing for people to take advantage of. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then just it's our way also of just boosting the economy, right? If we can take the money, and I've always believed too, if you take the money and put it into the hand of a business owner that knows what they're doing, they're going to turn that 50 grand into 100 or 500 grand, right? So that's just better all around, right?
Oh, so we do have one more from Steven. He says, we're using Stripe now and spending around $150K per year on card fees. So we'd be keen to save on that for sure. So I think, yes, that'd be a good, Steven, hit him up on his calendar and get in touch with Phil. I think
and we can just see if it works.
Yeah, cool. In terms of that, is there a trial phase? Is it when you first sign up? What's that look like?
Great question. So we do have an application fee, but we do not charge our application fee until you're approved. So we don't want to take any money from our people until they are actually approved and going to do business with us. And then we also have no contract. Cool. So we only want to do business with people that want to do business with us. So somebody wants to try it out for 6 months and then they're just like, it's not for me, then, or for whatever reason, we can part ways as friends. So no big deal. Awesome. And then speaking of that, a lot of business owners have tons of business contacts, right? So as we do a good job for you, we want to share that profits with our customers. So if you introduce us to your business owner friends, we'll actually give you 10% of that residual income for life.
Awesome.
And so that can be a little side income for you. The easiest side hustle you've ever done, just make introductions.
Cool. That's awesome. So sweet. So affiliate program, you got cool. Awesome. Well,
yeah. And we're super excited. You're familiar with Keep and all that stuff, right? So we're using Michelle Bell. So if anybody needs somebody, she's a virtual work wife. If anybody needs somebody that knows automation and needs a referral program, you'll actually get your own link that's tracked all back to our Keep. So we'll know where they came from. You can take this link and put it in any Facebook page or whatever you want to do with it, and it'll track it all back to you. So that's really, really awesome that we can now grow our affiliate base massively. That's what we're looking to do next, is we want to grow that by thousands. Awesome. So
cool.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, that was very informative. Thanks for that presentation. And I think we're gonna be sending out the replay as well to our entire list as well. So not just the people who are in attendance today, but we're gonna be sending that to everyone on our list, and we'll make sure that you get a copy of that as well, Phil, so you can send it to people.
Thank you. When they watch all this, if you'll take that calendar link and save that in, and then maybe put it where if they have more questions. And again, only informational, guys. We're here to help. And whatever you need, we'll answer your questions. And when you're ready to make the move, we can make the move. If you're never ready to make the move, that's fine too. We can just give you that information. So
awesome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you giving the opportunity to be on here.
Absolutely, Phil, and we appreciate you being on here as well and giving the presentation to our people. And yeah, we'll be in touch. And think this was a great webinar.
All right, fantastic. Have a fantastic day.
All right, Phil, you do as well. And everyone out there in SegMetrics land, we'll catch you later.